Can you just do me a favor? Because I've been following the Brazil story, with moderate interest. I wouldn't say I'm rapidly interested in what's happening down there, but I'm moderately interested. So give us like the 101 version for people who are like me, who like saw the riot, saw people very upset. They don't believe that the election was free and fair and that Bolsonaro really lost. Is that what they're upset about? They feel like it's a stolen election? Or is it that plus the fact that they can't stand the new guy? Because here it's like, to me, this is like far right to far left. And it seems hard to understand that the same country would elect both of those leaders.
Yeah, so I'll just give you my very quick reason why I do think people should care about Brazil. It's actually a gigantic country. It's the sixth most populous country in the world. It's the second largest in the hemisphere. It has enormous oil reserves, some of the most important in the world, plus the most important environmental resource, which is the Amazon. And that's why during the Cold War, the Soviet Union and the US were obsessed with Brazil. It's easily the most influential country in Latin America. As for the recent politics of it, the government, Brazil, has been ruled by this, what some people consider this far left party, which is the Workers' Party created by Lula da Silva. He grew up, he grew up illiterate, in great poverty. He became a labor leader. So he sort of has this profile of a far leftist. And he was very far to the left, but he ran for president 3 times, lost 3 times, and realized the only way he would win and successfully govern the country is if he moderated. And he became, I wouldn't quite say kind of an equivalent of like Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton, but much more like them than, say, Fidel Castro or Hugo Chavez. He was the president from 2002 to 2010. And regardless of what he secretly might have wished for, no one can know that, he governed as a kind of center-left leader. The Brazilian economy, far from becoming Venezuela, exploded in growth for 8 years under his presidency. It became the 6th largest country in the world. It passed the UK. But, then his successor, Dilma Rousseff, was the president for 6 more years. So when you have a party that's governing a country for 14 straight years, and then you have the good times and the bad times, people grow very disenchanted with it. She ended up being impeached in 2016. He ended up being imprisoned in 2017. And so there was a lot of anger toward the establishment. Goes to jail. And Bolsonaro ended up kind of successfully exploiting that anger toward the establishment, much like Donald Trump did, by saying, I'm not from the center left or the center right. I think they're both the same. I hate the entire establishment. And all that anger got channeled into the Bolsonaro movement. And that's why he won in 2018. As for what just happened, there was definitely a similar attempt like there was in the US to persuade Bolsonaro supporters that he didn't really lose the election. He lost very narrowly by 2 points, but that instead there was fraud. I personally haven't seen any evidence of real fraud or systemic fraud. So I think what's really going on is that, especially because Bolsonaro's party in that same election had an amazing night. I mean, it's now the most popular party in both House and the Senate. They won the key governorship. So if there was fraud, it was only on one part of the ballot. I don't think there was. I think people Brazil's a really polarized country like the US and Brazil. And a lot of the anger was because of that.
Yeah, that's always that was part of the Trump problem when he was claiming that he was, denied votes in Michigan and so on. Then you'd look at places where the Republicans just crushed under Trump on the very same ballot, which really undermines the suggestion that some fix was in. Never mind the Sidney Powell stuff. Like it's in and it's being controlled from a foreign country where they're manipulating all the ballots, but only at this level and not the lower levels, whatever. So Bolsonaro's now down in Florida. Recovering from, he was stabbed when he ran in 2018. It's so crazy, and says he has ongoing medical issues from that. And now he's down in Florida and people are gathering outside of his house and he's sort of a hero to a lot of people, but also a villain to others. But now there's pressure from some here in our own country, including the Biden White House, to potentially tell him to go home, to get out of here. Why would we get involved in that? Like, where's this? Is this over now? Is it going to die down and he's going to go back home and it's going to end? Or what's the next step in this saga?
Well, I mean, first of all, it actually sickens me when I see American leftists and liberals mocking how often he ends up hospitalized. I mean, when he was running for president, a gigantic knife was plunged into his intestinal system and tore the whole thing up. He was 90 seconds away from dying. 90 seconds later, he would have been dead. At arriving at the hospital, his entire abdominal region was reconstructed. Of course, he has all kinds of ongoing problems. He's a 67-year-old man. But I think, this is what happens when people speak in ignorance. So you have people like AOC and Joaquin Castro saying, we demand that Bolsonaro be extradited back to Brazil. The Brazilian government, very notably, is not asking for Bolsonaro to be extradited. There aren't criminal charges pending against Bolsonaro. So how would the United States government extradite him? Of course, the U.S. government would have the right, like it does with any foreign national, to expel any foreign national from the country, even if they entered legally, which Bolsonaro did. You're not under a requirement to host a foreign national if you don't want, but they can't order him back to Brazil. There's no deportation or extradition process requested. It's just that kind of thing that social media stars like AOC say in order to get social media attention without giving the slightest thought to the reality that I believe anyway, that the new government doesn't want Bolsonaro back on Brazilian soil. They don't want the government and the politics being dominated by a trial of Jair Bolsonaro that will tear the country apart. My belief is that he left the country on the last day as part of an agreement with the Supreme Court, where they basically said, look, you don't incite your crazies. Don't tell them that the election was fraudulent and that they should go out in the street, which he didn't. He basically disappeared from public life ever since the election was over. Quietly leave the country. We'll move on with our governing. And then maybe after 6 months when things are calmer, you can come back. So to watch AOC and Joaquin Castro and other Democrats and people in our media saying, send him back to Brazil, when there's no signs, at least yet, that the Brazilian government wants him back, is just the kind of narcissism and stupidity that so often governs our discourse.
Well, it's very fair of you to say that, too, because obviously this guy's put you through a lot. His government put you through a lot, which is one of the reasons why you come on and we always mock these reporters who talk about how rough it is, how hard it is to be criticized by. It's like, call me when they try to put you in jail. And they do. Exactly. They do put you in jail, and they try to take away your freedoms permanently for doing reporting on their alleged corruption and other misdeeds, which is your situation. All right, well, we'll continue to watch what happens down there. It's just those videos of the riots in the street were, they were kind of reminiscent of January 6th, and it was shocking to see. It's been a while since you've heard me talking about the amazing extreme altitude wines from the Bonner Private Wine Partnership, but they're back with an amazing offer for my audience. It's winter, and these flavors go great with any hearty meal. They do. You're going to love it. And with any meat you're going to have. They're unlike any wine you've ever tasted. Blackberry, leather, smoke, little dark cherry in there too. That makes everything better. The wines are almost impossible to get on your own. The producers deep in the Andes Mountains make limited quantities, you see. But today, I have an amazing offer that I have not had before. If you visit bonnerprivatewines.com/MKS, you will not only get wine for over 50% off, plus free shipping, you will also get a bonus bottle of small batch limited wine production from their exclusive wine cellar. That's 4 bottles for the price of 3. It's a deal that's hard to turn down if you are a wine lover like I am. They have cut out the middleman, so you will not pay a big markup. You just visit Bonner, BONNER, privatewines.com/MKS to claim your bonus bottle and become a part of America's most unique wine club. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.